Ready, Jeremiah?
Dun, dun.
No!
R2-D2.
No, I mean, the dude
Now
has
you
his hand
can't say
just
it.
cut off. Wouldn't you say no?
No, we like, fuck, you cut my hand off, bitch.
Well, no, it cauterized the wound. You wouldn't even feel it.
I think you still feel it.
Skywalker.
No. Literally, that lightsaber would take off the hand.
I've been wondering about
you
this.
wouldn't even know it was gone.
Wanting to
Listen,
know
I'm gonna
about
jump
that
ahead
for
to
the
the
last
end.
like 25 years.
If you were a
it just
doctor out
burns it
there-
off.
There's
Oh
a
no! It
presence in the
cauterized
Force.
the wound immediately.
Can we start, please?
No, wait, we are starting, actually. If you're a doctor or in the medical profession, please email us an answer. Would he feel the pain if it cauterizes that quickly?
Yes, he would. You still lose the arm.
This is a house of learning
It's a hand,
doctors.
okay?
You lose.
Brandon, spoiler alert. I'm a doctor. I know.
Juris,
I work with doctors,
doctorate.
Brandon. I also know.
go.
Brandon, I'm Doogie Howser.
Welcome to Season 3 of 3.5 Gentlemen, the podcast, where 3 of the 4 hosts provide a refined and intellectual analysis of movies from our private collections, and one of us tries desperately to keep up. We'll let you decide which host is which, but for now, my name is Sean, and with me, as always, are my co-pilots, Jeremiah,
What up, yo? No disintegrations.
Eddie,
Do or do not. There is no try.
and Brandon. Are you my father?
Then I'll see you in hell.
There's no hell in space.
That's literally my biggest... Okay, so that is my least favorite movie quote of all time, everybody.
This season, each host will pick a film from each decade, from the 70s to today, that exemplifies that time period. Some films will be underrated, some classics, while others will be overrated piles of cinematic crap. To finish off each decade, the host will have a group pick that is sure to delight. As with every review we give, our goal is to answer one simple question. How many drinks does it take to get through the film that we've just watched? At the end of the podcast, we'll rate this movie based on a scale of 0 to 5. 0 is the perfect film you can enjoy stone cold sober, and 5 is a terrible film that leaves your hand severed by a lightsaber and falling down into the bowels of Bespin Colony.
What
Eddie.
happened to that hand?
Oh, well, we'll get there.
Clearly, we thought that answer was going to come in The Force Awakens, the last
But they find the light
Jedi.
But they find the lightsaber.
Yeah, the lightsaber,
That's
but
kinda
not the
funny.
hand. I mean, come on.
Way to
Where do
go,
you-
JJ.
Where do you find that at? Like, hey, here's a lightsaber. that's
I
chilling
believe it's
here
a
in the-
cantina.
Dun, 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 dun,
Not that one.
In addition to our review, we always pair our selection with a cocktail that we hope will enhance the viewing experience. This season, we want to focus a little bit more on the cocktail, so please feel free to shake, stir, or mix the cocktail that we've chosen and settle in for what we hope to be an amazing review.
Just love that we say we want to focus more on the cocktail. Go make it. We're going to talk about the movie.
Yes, go make it. We're
Yeah.
gonna make the Cloud City, and we're gonna enjoy the shit out of this egg-based cocktail. Thank you, Brandon.
Wait.
And what movie do we have light speeding our way across the galaxy this evening?
Tonight, we have kind of, I would say it's kind of our holy grail as a quadruped here.
Really? Keep going.
Eddie's being suspenseful right now.
Obviously. Tonight, if you haven't put all the clues together, we are going to have our final entry in our 80s films. This is our group pick. This, I believe, was actually our first pick of any movie
Yes.
at all.
When we came up with the structure, everyone was like, Empire.
Strikes Back.
It's actually, well, to be fair, I think this might have been one of our first movies that we picked in season 1, and we were like, we can't start with our grail. Tonight, we have our final entry in our 80s films, and it is our group pick. It is the incomparable Star Wars episode
5.
Oh, you put IV. That stands for 4. What kind of a Star Wars fan are you?
V.
V. We have Star Wars V, The Empire Strikes Back. This George Lucas masterpiece, I mean, to be fair, not directed by George Lucas, but this is an Irvin Kershner film, but whatever.
Thank you, Mr. Kershner.
Masterpiece.
Thank you.
How about this? This masterpiece inspired by characters created by George Lucas.
fucking wrote the material.
Oh my God, Kushner?
Just wrote the story.
He wrote the
Kasdan,
material,
not
which is
Kushner, Kasdan.
is the most important part.
Kasdan.
Lawrence Kasdan probably wrote the script.
Kasdan. Well, you did.
Yeah, you did.
You did.
Yeah, he also wrote Indiana Jones 4.
Okay,
So
well,
let's
this
just
And Raiders of the Lost
Hey, you
Ark.
know what? There were aliens in that one. This George Lucas masterpiece is rated an 8.7 on IMDb, so that means that all those people are wrong. It has a critic score of 94% and an audience score of 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm just going to go ahead and throw in my...
only 3% of the audience are wrong. On
Let me just tell you. I'm going to give how many drinks it took me to get through this one. It was a good, strong 10 because I was celebrating every single time. This movie, for some reason, is not ranked on AFI's greatest movies of all time. I'll tell you why, because they went with episode actual IV, A New Hope.
That's
Which,
why,
as
that's why AFIs don't count AFI
In all
anymore.
fairness, AFI on the list is just Star Wars.
They're flawed.
oh well, see that counts. That also encompasses Phantom Menace.
Yeah, they don't have
Oh,
this.
Nothing wrong.
They don't have this movie on the AFI top
This is
100.
paw
They're
racing.
flawed. Okay, they're flawed.
Sand, it gets everywhere. After the rebels are brutally overpowered by the Empire on the ice planet Hoth, Luke Skywalker begins his Jedi training with Master Yoda. Or should we say Master Yoda training Jedi with begins his.
Good one.
Difficult to read this.
Concentrate, we must.
Finish your section so Eddie can tell us about James Bond.
We need to get to our first impressions first.
Let's go. Or go less.
Well,
Go we must.
all this shit's happening while his friends are pursued across the galaxy by Darth Vader and the bounty hunter Boba Fett.
I added that in for
Obviously, you guys can't tell right now unless Jared. Do we have a picture?
No.
We gotta get
It's
a
on the
picture.
Instagram right now.
Oh, it's gonna be.
Jeremiah, take us through
I
the
got a
first
Boba
impression.
Fett shirt on right now.
Before we get into our cocktail selection, we need to talk about whose film this is, and additionally, what our initial impressions of the movie were before sitting down to watch it. Since this is a group pick for the 80s, I will go first. Star Wars has just been a part of my world, my universe, since I was born.
Part of your skin.
In part of my skin, yes. However, Return of the Jedi was the first movie that introduced me to the whole Star Wars universe, and that was my movie as growing up, and that was like my childhood movie. It wasn't until George Lucas released the special editions in the movie theaters, then when I watched Empire Strikes Back over again.
So you saw his bastardization before you saw the real?
Unfortunately, I did, where he actually just ruined half of the shit. But however, it was something fucking magical to watch that film on the big screen. And
How
that
old were you?
I was like seriously 105.
In Yoda years?
Good one.
One good.
One good.
Keep going.
No, but that's when I just realized this movie is fucking phenomenal. It changed my whole perspective of Star Wars and just how it's a darker tone and just how it just leaps over half of almost all of the other Star Wars saga movies and whatnot. So, or Star Wars movies. So, yeah, that was my really first impression of Empire Strikes Back.
I'll go Nets.
Eddie, go.
Because I don't have much on it. I wasn't able to watch this movie in the movie theaters. Besides, I think when it came out in the 90s again for
The special edition.
edition when it was out in the movie theaters, that's when I watched New Hope, and that's when I was able to watch Empire Strikes Back and actually appreciate it. 'Cause I watched it before, but I was younger than my brother Jeremiah, and I mean, all I remember is Return of the Jedi, but I remember Empire Strikes Back had the best snowtroopers, and I was so looking forward to watching them. Yeah, in this movie, and also the AT-ATs and the AT-STs.
STDs?
come.
I don't know.
STs come in
There's
return.
no chlamydia in this movie, no.
Yeah, I know. But overall, like I really
chlamydia,
was. This is a movie that overall my son really enjoys, and
Are you serious?
yeah, because he plays the video the PS4.
Oh, okay. So he does
yeah.
like the whole Battle of Hoth.
He does the Battle of Hoth, and I realized that Hoth is really cool, and how this movie started. I was really impressed with just how the movie began, and I was really trying to hold back tears at times, not give a score that not
You don't want to pre-score it.
I don't want to pre-store it, but yeah, I was trying to do my best to pre-store it, but I was really looking forward to watching this movie.
Sean?
Oh, sure. So this is a movie that I grew up with. I cannot pinpoint the first time I saw it, but I remember getting it on VHS, and I had a little 12-inch television with a built-in VCR.
Black and white.
No, dude, it's the colorful ones. I know exactly what you're
Yeah,
talking
it was
about.
it was like a Toshiba or it was something with a T. And I literally did not stop watching these movies for 3 years straight. Every night when I would go to bed, I would put in wherever I was, and then I would put the sleep timer on, and I would fall asleep. And the next night, I would literally pick it up exactly where it left off. And by the end of those 3 years, the movie was so strung out. It was so like the film was so warped that the sound didn't sound right. The visuals, like you'd have like.
So you weren't be kind and
glitches.
rewinding, where it's so to say.
No, I would rewind when I got to the end of the movie, but I watched them so many times I wore the freaking hell out of the tape. And that is what I remember about Star Wars. I mean, obviously my grandfather brought me into the universe, but that's the memories I have of sitting in my room just watching it over and over and over again and listening to the VCR come on and go, wow, and that's what I remember.
Yeah, so I think I've said this before on the podcast, and if I haven't, here it is again. Growing up, besides Disney movies, I honestly believed that there were only 5 movies in existence. And that was Star Wars 4, 5, 6, and Indiana Jones 1 and 3. And I had heard rumblings of Temple of Doom being out there, but my parents hated that one, so we never watched it. But we would watch Star Wars, and I'm not exaggerating, we probably watched it every 2 weeks. We would watch 4, 5, 6. Just we would put in one night, and then the next night it was 5, the next night it was 6. And so, like my dad, I remember my dad and I would have quote offs where we would say a quote, and we'd have to tell which of the 3 movies it came out of. So, needless to say, Star Wars is part of who I am. It's where I grew up. I always tell people that I'm a Star Wars fan, and people are like, "Oh, well, me too." And I don't want to be that guy. But I think the 4 of us are kind of all in the same category. We're as original, we're as original fans as we can be at our age, right? Because we weren't there for 77, we weren't there for 80, we weren't there for the theater release of the originals, but we were there for the re-release. I was saying, Jeremiah, my family literally bought every new edition that was released, and George Lucas made so much money off of us.
All 57 of them.
Because literally he would re-release something every two times every year, and we would literally have all on VHS, all on DVD, then Blu-ray.
And you watch it, seeing if you can find the difference. Like, where is it?
Do you remember?
fuck yeah.
Do you remember the tan Blu-ray set where it was like just the original trilogy? It might have been the original. It might have been.
We had the tan
1,
and the
2,
silver.
3, 4, 5, 6. But
Oh, you're going there.
in the tan kind of
Do you
case.
remember like the original like video cassettes? Not original.
Oh,
but
it was
yeah.
black and it was
black.
side by
had,
side,
and it had like
Vader's
one face, and it had a
still have
stormtrooper face. Fuck.
Yeah.
So I
Nerdgasm.
I ended up buying them all on the Steelbook editions when they came out,
course you
so
did.
that
Yes,
I
you
could
did.
continue. And
That's
my
when you were
god,
going through that moment. I remember you started buying a lot of DVDs.
Oh, it's all
and
Steelbook.
first of all, I never buy DVDs.
Blu-rays.
Blu-rays.
Thank you very much.
Needless to say,
Yes, you
that
did.
this
You
movie...
bought DVDs. You never
This
bought-
movie showed me what entertainment and what movies should be.
Yeah.
Where my mom and my sister, they kind of preferred Return because they liked the Ewoks, and nothing wrong with the Ewoks, but and my dad and my brother, they liked Episode 4. They liked kind of the original kind of beginning of it. And to me, I was the holdout for Empire, and Empire still to me is one of the greatest movies ever made. So
Couldn't agree with you more.
yeah.
More, dude.
So it was hard. It's kind of what Eddie was saying. I didn't want to go in saying that this is a 0 movie, and I really tried to nitpick it. And so we'll see where we're at.
Yeah, I did as well. Eddie, why don't you take us through the cocktail?
As we mentioned earlier, with each movie we try to pair the tone, feel, and overall impact of the story of a cocktail. This season, we really want to discuss the cocktail and more and how it links up to the movie selection. Everyone who listens knows when we finally watch a Bond movie.
We're gonna watch a freaking Bond movie. I promise you.
Is this like the 3rd Star Wars movie or the 2nd?
Second.
This is the second. We watched a couple more other things before a Bond movie.
Yeah, the blue. We have the
I've
blue
been
milk.
trying to do a Bond movie for
I've been wanting
3 seasons.
I've been
now.
wanting the blue milk again. Can we get that one?
Blue
out?
Milk of Tatooine.
Yeah.
Well, it was in every script for about a year and a half.
Yeah, anyone
So-
who wants to take my job, take it. It's on the. It's,
Well,
you can have it.
when we watch a Bond movie, we'll pair a vodka martini, shaken not stirred with a lemon peel. But tonight's cocktail was chosen by the group, so Brandon will be taking us through the cocktail. Brandon,
So tonight we have the Cloud City, also known as...
Lando's crib.
Okay, I was going to say Bespin, but yes,
Bespin.
Lando's crib.
hey,
Yeah,
that's
that works.
the Wi-Fi I have here. For
Yes, that is my Wi-Fi. Bespin College.
What's the password for that?
I'm not giving it out. On,
All right, anyway.
on tape.
8675309.
It's Star Wars.
It is Star Wars.
Space.
Anyway, we got Cloud City, Bespin Colony. We have this drink because the Bespin Colony plays such a huge part of the second act of the original Star Wars trilogy. And it really starts to peel back the layers that Lucas created in his space saga. We get introduced to Lando Calrissian, where Han gets frozen in carbonite, where Luke has a battle, where our heroes narrowly escape, where we basically meet Boba Fett, which I mean, that's every little boy's
It's like
dream.
It's like Star Wars. Like the rebellion beat the Empire, and then the Empire just like bitch slaps the rebellion back. Like, hey,
Bitch slaps.
See, and if you
Fucking
think about it, though,
roundhouses.
Cloud City is the central pivot point of the entire original
is basically
trilogy because
halfway through.
everything happened at this location. Like, I feel like this and this is why I wanted to push for Cloud City, because this set essentially showed the Empire who they really were, and showed the people who needed to resist.
How much power.
Like they thought, like people like Lando Calrissian and throughout the galaxy thought that they could just placate and appease the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
This showed the world that nope.
So our drink is chosen because it embraces this city in the clouds. To make this drink, you will need gin or gin.
No, it's that's how you spell it.
Blue curacao, also known as blue curacao, lemon juice, and an egg.
Egg white.
Well, you said an egg here.
I'm just telling you.
I'm
it's
just
egg
going to say
whites.
that's really disgusting. Is that what we're drinking?
Yes.
Oh my
But
God.
it looks delicious.
I mean, it looks
pretty
blue.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's floaty like the city.
So,
of
no, we're not going to talk about floating. For our complete recipe, please visit our website at thegentlemanpodcast.com. The .com means a lot.
So we are drinking this out of coupes tonight, and let's taste
call
this
this? I call it just a
deliciousness.
cup,
It's
but
a
okay.
coupe. It's called a classic
A coupe? Nice.
The egg is in the way.
Oh, well, Rocky would be happy. It's a little bit of egg in it.
It's sweet.
It is. It's a blue curacao. I love
It's the
blue curacao.
Yeah.
I need more
I am
lemon
a
juice.
fan of blue curacao, and I am not a fan of gin, so this is a nice
well,
balance.
the gin you can't really taste. It's
I think that you can always
subdued.
taste
It feels
You
like
can
I'm
always taste
hanging
the
off
taste
a little rafter part here, waiting for someone to pick me up in the Lincoln Falcon. No,
Milking?
sorry, I'm just flying. I'm a little buzzed.
Oh, all right.
I love you guys so much.
So let's get going with the review. I think that we need to start.
I love this movie.
How it
Yes.
starts.
Okay.
I think we need to start with how
the
every
crawl?
great Star Wars movie starts in space.
In
And
space.
this is I
What are you
I've
trying
been-
to say about-
I've been prepping this because I think that the reason that Solo, a Star Wars story, failed is because it didn't start in fucking space.
I'm going to go on
Where
a
did it
limb and
start
say
at?
I enjoyed the hell out of Solo.
With Solo sparking the wires together and his little racer pod on Corellia.
I
Let me
agree.
just tell you this. I think there are two movies in the Star Wars universe that are set above every other one. This one and Rogue One. I think those are the two best representations of Star Wars. And I think that, personally, the pacing of this movie is probably the blueprint every movie should ever use to do film
I
in the future.
love how you talk about the beginning because honestly, the first one is this whole rebellion getting attacked by a Death Star. I'm sorry, by a Star Destroyer, trying to get away. It's this big epic thing. This one is slow. It's like, okay, what's happening?
There's a
It
story.
has, yeah,
And
it's like there's-
that's the pace of the whole movie.
exactly. It's so fucking dope.
And it reintroduces the characters in a way that isn't like I've never not watched episode 1 or excuse me episode 4. God, I've
New
never
Hope.
watched I've never not watched A New Hope before I've watched this movie, but I would assume that you could actually watch this movie and not be jarred into I don't know who these people are. Like it kind of gives you it drops you into the world, and this is something that I think the Star Wars universe does well is it drops you into the universe and gets you going without you feeling like it's unfamiliar.
You're not
It did
catching
well
up.
in 1 through 6.
It
I don't
No,
agree.
I feel like
don't-
7 did it really well. I do think 7
yeah,
did it
seven.
well.
I
Oh,
don't
seven.
feel-
Seven was. Wait, how did 7 start? 7 started in space the same way.
I feel like you had to have watched some.
But 7, 8, and 9 were also the blueprints of 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah,
Right.
they were
Because
the
like
same.
as Last Jedi, a lot of people don't like it. People fucking hate it. But
terrible.
it was a blueprint of Empire Strikes Back.
And what part of Empire Strikes Back did they go to a gambling planet?
I do
and
remember that
release
happening.
The animals.
Tauntauns were in
I'm
it.
just saying.
There's many different planets, and they're just trying to change up the story.
Okay, first of all,
the story is
before-
not just about.
I don't remember
Skywalker.
Red being in the
First of
Empire
all,
Strikes
what
Back.
happens on the first one, on the 7th one, right? They blow the fucking Starkiller, right?
I agree with you.
The
I'm
second
just-
one, what happens? They're on the run, just like in Empire Strikes Back.
It makes sense.
So to piggyback, Sean,
And I hate
off
that
what you
casino
said.
part too. Fuck it. It's the stupidest fucking thing in the
Stupidest
world.
thing. And then the ending, my God, they set it up to not do anything with it. But anyway, you were talking about the pacing, and one of the things that I love so much about Empire is that it finally got smart in its storytelling. You look at A New Hope, and it literally follows our heroes, and we never deviate from our heroes, right? This is a true split narrative where you have two different stories going on simultaneously, and you're cutting back and forth, and it makes
branches,
it
yeah.
fresh and it makes it exciting.
love
And we never
how
get
that
bogged
works.
down with Luke because then we jump over to Han and
Leia.
to Leia. And one side is really kind of, I'm going to talk about it a little bit more later, but it's super kung fu sensei training, with Luke, and it's serious and it's slow and it's not really fun to watch. But then we get Han and we got Leia and we got 3PO and all of them, and it's fun and it's exciting, it's adventurous, and so you have this beautiful mixing and melding of these different styles that perfectly complement each other.
I think you also have a soul aspect to the movie where the first one, it wasn't really about, and I don't want to bring religion into it, but it does feel a little like Luke is developing his belief in who he is.
Well, it's because we get a definition of what the Force is. I mean, all we have in 4 is what Obi-Wan says, and it's this power that binds us together.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what does that mean? But here you get Yoda, and I have my own thoughts on Yoda we'll talk about, but we get Yoda who kind of is explaining what the Force is, and
Practically.
Luke doesn't understand it. We realize that Luke is not a great...
naive.
But
Yeah,
that's the beauty
and
thing.
that's the beauty.
The beauty thing about this
It
film.
shows you
because-
how
not ready
how not ready he is,
Yeah.
and how he's like, just like probably any other 20-year-old thinking that they can take on the world, and they get knocked down a little bit a couple times and realize, oh, whoa, like there's a lot for me to learn still with my trade.
But this film it defined everything what we know about Star Wars. It was the first introduction of the Force. It's the first introduction of
Yoda.
the Emperor, bounty hunters, different planets, different things. This thing actually expanded the whole Star Wars universe. And that's why this film sits above a lot of these other Star Wars films,
It was the first of the Emperor?
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
in Star Wars?
He wasn't in the...
He wasn't the
talk
first
about
one.
Did they talk about
Is he
him?
even mentioned?
No.
I'm trying to think. So
I
here's-
mean, you had this feeling like Darth Vader was in charge. This is the first time. So, and this is brilliant filmmaking or brilliant storytelling, whatever you want to call it. If you want to call it Lucas, if you want to call it whatever you want to call it. The concept of creating a great villain. Darth Vader is arguably one of the greatest villains ever created. Then you take Vader and you put him on someone's leash. You literally create a bigger villain without actually creating a bigger villain. You're like, oh fuck, Vader has to talk to someone else.
Yeah, Vader's not the guy.
Like he's not the end person, and so it already automatically creates the Emperor. He doesn't even have to do shit. Like all he has to, literally all he does in this movie, I think, is talk through the video screen.
But you're so fucking like glued into it.
And you're like, who the fuck is
Who
this?
is this person?
Who is this?
This is your first introduction to something bigger, powerful.
They try to do the same thing with the new ones, and it didn't hit.
Well, that's because Rain Johnson's. Anyway,
so
let me
you
say
and then
what
me.
I'm gonna say.
You
Yeah.
and then me.
So I'm gonna bring in the original. Episode 1, 2, and 3 to kind of justify my point on this. So I think Empire Strikes Back. You have, like you said, Jeremiah, this building of a world. You're building out this universe where you have Yoda kind of teaching Luke about that there's a deeper meaning to life. That
Yes.
He's got a deeper path. But think about this. Yoda saw the rise and fall of Anakin Skywalker. He participated in the rise and fall of Anakin Skywalker. He warned against, in episode 1, the rise of Anakin Skywalker, saw what Anakin Skywalker became, and then saw the fall of his entire Jedi Order. So think about that when he's training Luke. Like, in the back of his mind, it has to be going through the back of that little green mind, that Luke could be his father. Could be his father.
Father's son, right there.
And
yeah.
he's waiting for something to happen. And all of Anakin's life is built on emotion. Anakin lost his mother at a very young age. He lost his mother again to death in episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
He lost Padme in episode 3. It's all based on emotion that drove him to the dark side. Luke wanting to go to his friends, wanting to go save the people that he loves, is the same fucking pattern from episode 1, 2, and 3. And you could understand the fear that Yoda had in training Luke, that he's just going to
Even Obi-Wan.
Right.
Yeah, and one of the, I think, now that you bring it up, I think it's a great point, is a question that Luke asks Yoda. And at the time that I'm watching it, and literally I've seen this movie probably more than any movie I've ever seen, ever. Yeah. But I've never really caught on to it and never thought about it until literally right now. But Luke is running with Yoda, and he turns over his shoulder and he asks Yoda, how do I know the good side from the dark side? Like, the fact that he has to ask that question has got to terrify Yoda, because it's so easy for Luke to maybe think about slipping into the dark side. I mean, like, what's right and what's wrong. Normally, generally, people know that. But the fact that Luke is asking that, he's questioning what is good and what is bad. I mean, to me, that brings in a whole other level of what Luke could do.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I don't know if he did this on purpose, but I was thinking in the originals, I felt like Yoda was more controlling over Anakin with, like, don't go there. You know, compared to
He changed his
training styles. It's like you go in the cave and you find out if it's either light or dark. You don't come out of it yourself. Like he was more like, we'll find out what happens, but I can't control like how I did with Anakin because it didn't happen good. So I'm gonna not control as much. He had to train his teaching style a little bit. Did you see that?
One of the brilliant parts of episode 1, 2, and 3 is that you actually saw the failures of the Jedi.
Yes.
The Jedi's fucked up.
Oh yeah.
Because they hid the dark side. They suppressed the dark side. They suppressed emotion. They did a bunch of bad shit.
The Jedi was able to build. I mean, the
Sith.
dark side was able to build
right under their nose. I think that exactly what you're saying is true, is that Yoda realized the error. He realized the problem. And by sending Luke into that cave and saying, okay, you're going to have to go face your dark side. Because I think Luke asks, is the dark side stronger? And his immediate response, Yoda's immediate response is,
You will
no.
know. You will know.
But it's easier. It's quicker. He's explaining that it is being a Jedi is the harder path, but it's worthwhile. That is something that was not even thought about when he had his council.
And it's so amazing when you see that lightsaber duel in the cave. You see Luke's his fear, his aggression on that whole situation, where he literally sees like, I'm the man behind the mask. It's almost foreshadowing that I can take place and be my father.
He has these two paths in front of him, and he can choose either one.
Yeah.
But the other one leads to death and darkness, and this one leads to light and happiness.
Let me ask you though, because that to me is I think it's a scene that we all remember clearly when we think of this movie. It's almost like one of the first ones that jumps out to us. After he beheads Darth Vader and sees himself as Vader, it goes to Yoda. We see Yoda, and Yoda kind of puts his head down, kind of shakes his head. Why do you think it is? What do you think Yoda wanted for him to do? What do you think Yoda was expecting him to do? I was just sitting here, and the whole time I'm looking at how deeply psychological this movie is. It really gets into the idea of desire. It gets into the idea of hatred and giving into it. But when Yoda gets it seems like he's let down on the response that Luke
because he's
gave.
Seen
the same pattern.
the same
pattern,
the
yeah.
patterns that this
Same-
person's
same
going to
book.
follow the same path.
And he's here. Sorry to interrupt
keep
you,
going.
Eddie. One of the things that bothers me, and I will say this is a negative part of the movie, that it doesn't logically flow for me. Luke is a Jedi. He can use the Force. He's got a fucking laser sword that cuts down people. And so when Yoda says, lift this ship out of the water, and he goes, that's impossible. How the fuck are you going to tell me that's impossible? You move things with your goddamn mind.
But the thing is like it's more it's mind
size
over
of
matter
it.
of the
Yeah.
size of it.
But he's faced with the impossible every day, and I think that it goes to your point. I think the head down disappointment is that he's limited. Just like Anakin was limited by emotion, Luke is limited by the way he was raised. Yeah. He was limited by thought.
Let's
where
go.
I think, sorry.
Go.
Where
Finish it.
I think that was more why he said there's another, why he was kind of interested in Leia over Luke.
There is another.
Is because Leia was not limited by, she was already in the Resistance. She
is
was
the
already,
other Leia or is it Rey?
You can flip it.
Is the
anywhere.
other Leia or is it Rey? That's literally one of the questions I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
There is another, because obviously
flip.
we
Do you
always
think he
thought
Because
foresaw
Rey
it?
wasn't born yet. I'm going to go ahead and say Leia.
but it's this idea that the stronger, the more able will come.
I think that it's Leia.
So Yoda was able to, I feel like, obviously see that Luke failed that little test, and he saw himself under Vader because he realized there. I think that's where Luke was able to see. Is like, wow, I have a lot of hatred towards Vader because he killed Obi and he possibly killed my dad.
But it
And-
was, yeah.
but-
Right.
I'm sorry.
So like Luke really realized it was, even though it was a fail of a test, Luke kind of realized is like, I see myself taking over Vader, and like this hatred, I could become the next bad guy if I take this the wrong way.
And it wasn't until Return of the Jedi when he actually realized. I think that he realized the lesson from the cave when he was in the temple with, the new Death Star, with Emperor Palpatine, with his father, and he threw his lightsaber away and said, "No,
Not
This
like
is
my
right
father.
I'm choosing
Yeah.
the Jedi.
Yeah.
I'm choosing the path of light." And I will say this: in Rise of Skywalker, that scene where Rey chooses the light and is helped by all the other Jedi, that I think was what Lucas was trying to do, or what this movie was trying to do when he chose the lightness. Like if Yoda was
Return of the Jedi,
if you could see Yoda's face in that moment, Yoda would have been going, "Yeah, that's it right there.
I'm behind you.
You got it."
Yeah.
On a side note, I don't think Leia was supposed to be the other one, the chosen one, from my understanding, from like Lee Brackett's supposedly kind of like where the story was going to actually get formatted and whatnot. It was supposed to be another person that you were not supposed to see until like Return of the Jedi. It wasn't just, but the thing was that it was brought to attention that Leia is Luke's brother and sister in Return of the Jedi,
like in that
the
moment.
daughter of Vader.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to bring the other mythology into this movie, but if you look at what this movie spawned, and I know I'm going to tell you right now, Brandon, you have not seen the Clone Wars.
No.
I don't know if you've seen all of the Clone Wars.
I've seen part.
This show
unbelievable.
is absolutely fantastic, and Dave Filoni is it Filoni?
It's Fellini.
He's the same guy who does Mandalorian, which is also a
Bad
wonderful
Batch.
show. And Bad Batch, but he has this vision for what Star Wars is, and it's based on soulful ideas of who these people are. It doesn't matter they're in space, it doesn't matter they're a galaxy far, far away. It matters who they are as people. And he's created a series of stories that are just fucking phenomenal.
It's probably one of the best things that you'll ever see for a non-Star Wars movie, and honestly, it might be one of the top 3 or 4 things that you will see from the Star Wars saga.
And when you finish Clone Wars, do Star Wars Rebels, because then you get to see this
Fucking
whole
great.
another section of Jedi who are trying to recover from Order 66. I'm telling you right now, it's emotional.
It really speaks a lot too about the whole Jedi religion and the Jedi. It goes much fucking depth.
Well, the
dude.
Star Wars universe,
Right.
Like, because
Yes.
people get wrapped up like, oh, Star Wars is about Skywalkers. It's not. They're a part of the story, but these other shows that you guys are talking about, it shows you like, wow, it's cool to see the rest of the universe.
Yeah.
And
like-
we keep pinning our hopes on Skywalkers, and Skywalkers continuously prove to be shitty Jedi.
Yeah, and this is what I keep going back to with Rey. I mean, I think it's arguable, absolutely, but Rey is one of, if not the strongest Jedi out there, because she was able to do all these different things without having any mentorship at all. Right? She
was raw in the
She was
Force.
raw and so strong in it. So I have a question that I think if you ask Star Wars fans, like true Star Wars fans, what the best movie of the group is, or at least what the best movie of 4, 5, and 6 is, almost all the time they're going to say 5. Right?
Well, there's a
so my
reason
question
for
is
it.
why? Why do you think?
Because this is what I have here.
It's my favorite.
It has probably the most beloved set pieces that you see in a Star Wars saga. I mean, you're going to exploring different planets.
Mm-hmm.
The characters are more developed. I mean, they are. And you know what the best thing about this movie is that the main heroes are in one scene when Luke is in the hospital, right?
Mm-hmm.
One scene, the whole group. After that, you don't see them together until Return of the Jedi. Each of them has their own characters, their own paths that they have to go to. The set pieces are fucking legendary. Planet Dagobah, the Battle of the Hoths, the Cloud City, the battle, the first lightsaber duel, the lightsaber battle you have from Luke and Vader. Those things are pop culture shit right there, dude. And that's the
think
reason
it's
why
deeper-
it sticks above the other Star Wars sagas.
I feel like it's deeper than that too. I think I agree with you 100%. These are iconic scenes that have shaped the Star Wars universe beyond the original trilogy and beyond the movies. I think the shows are where it's at. I mean, that's just, yeah. I think that the reason this movie is the best movie is because it doesn't have resolution. Because for me, this movie is a deep breath. It's, okay, we just defeated the Death Star, Darth Vader's out there, and fuck, we're still not out of the woods, and we don't win.
And
The good guys don't
The
fucking
good
win.
guys
and
don't fucking win. And when you have this idea where you go through, they're being constantly chased, and then Luke just pieces out. Luke's like, I'm going to Dagobah. See you guys later.
Yeah. You lose Han.
I'll meet
and
you at
lose
the
Han.
rendezvous.
Right.
You lose Han. Leia is
Yeah. So now it's basically Leia, the traitor Lando,
and
Chewbacca.
Luke barely surviving.
Yeah, Luke is maimed. All of a sudden, you are in a place of weakness, and that's why I think that this movie is so. It's so in the 1930s and 40s, you had this idea of a cliffhanger. You had this idea of a story that left you like Lassie was perfect for this. Will little Timmy get out of the well? Like that was something.
It's a serial.
It's a serial.
Yeah, it's a serial. Yeah.
This has a serial ending that is worthy of every television show like Lost or Smallville that left you hanging with all characters in peril, and they had to wait a considerable amount of time to get to the next story.
I love how it has to be over 3 years. Like the original was always 3 years when the new one got released, not a year or
Right.
so
Which
quick
I
ahead.
think, and this is my personal opinion, and it will always be my personal opinion. I think that the best part about a trilogy or a series of movies or a saga is the wait, not the actual payoff. I loved waiting in line,
discussion, the talking,
the
yeah.
discussions, what is going to happen, and a year just
Who is
it
Ray?
doesn't work for me. I film it all together. That's fine. Just wait 2 years and
Except Lord of the Rings.
Don't rush it.
They did that pretty well.
yeah,
that's
but Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
I look at
had
it as one
had
story.
A story.
I look at that as one story.
Yeah, this it didn't have a rise and a fall. It had a rise.
Yeah. So Eddie, because I have a couple thoughts on why Empire, to me
Yes.
at least, is my favorite. But I don't want to hear what you think.
Well, moment of silence. Didn't we recently lose C-3PO?
No,
he's still alive.
I have Anthony Downs.
Jesus,
We
don't
lost
say
Kenny
that.
Baker.
No, we lost Kenny Baker
A while
and
ago.
Kenny
Chewbacca.
Baker,
but we lost
Chewbacca.
R2D2,
yeah.
and Peter.
We lost.
Mayhew.
We lost
Mayhew.
David Prowse.
Yeah, David Prowse.
Yeah, and also Boba Fett.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the original
Well, the
Boba Fett,
OG.
yes.
Boba
Yeah,
Fett.
so I mean, like, come on, guys. Like,
But they redubbed his fucking voice. in
I was
the
so pissed when I heard
I don't like that at
1999.
all. That's probably one of the
That's
worst
like
part
putting
of it,
Hayden
yeah.
Christensen at the end of
Don't-
fucking
don't-
Return of the Jedi.
don't.
I feel like he needs to get another credit. Like,
No,
give
I'm
him a little-
excited. Hayden Christensen's coming back for the
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi
Yeah.
show. And you know what? I'm going to say say contrary. to
Bring Jake
popular-
Lloyd. If you say bring Jake
No,
Lloyd back, oh.
I'm going to say I think Hayden Christensen. I think Hayden Christensen is a very good actor. I think
he was
that
given absolutely
he
terrible
was given
script.
shit to work with, and I think that it ruined his
agree.
career.
I agree.
Because
And the
I think
sand
he
quote
could have
was
been
terrible.
a really
Build a house.
Really, life is a house.
Life is
man.
the house. That was-
Shattered Glass. He was really
could
good
have
in too.
He could have been Harrison Ford.
No.
No, he could have. He could have been. I feel like
There
he
is
could've.
one Harrison Ford a generation, and
I
he's
feel like he
not
could have
it.
been Harrison Ford, but the stuff that they gave him, he ended up not.
He ended up being Jake Lloyd.
And he chose bad films.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you got
Yeah.
people talk shit about Revenge of the Sith. I'll fucking
Oh,
go
that's
to
a
the.
decent
I'll
one.
go fucking to the end of the earth on this one. That's one of the best lightsabers duel ever you'll
one?
see on
Revenge of
screen.
the
dude.
Sith?
And that's going to be my
Revenge of the
criticism.
Sith?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's my criticism of this movie is that
Lightsaber scenes.
I expect, and all the whole original trilogy, the lightsaber scenes are pathetic.
Obi-Wan.
Sad.
They're sad,
Episode
especially
4.
when you look at like Duel of the Fates with Darth Maul, Obi-Wan, and Qui-Gon Jinn
That's dope.
was phenomenal. The final battle between Obi-Wan
Yoda.
and Anakin was phenomenal.
Yoda.
Even Dooku and
Yoda.
Yoda was phenomenal. It's really hard for me. Like, if you were gonna fuck with this movie, fuck with that.
There's a fan base.
Oh, it's
Oh,
so
that
good.
cut is
It's
amazing.
like, come on, can we just add that in,
Yeah,
please? The fan
don't
base.
fucking give me a digital lips on
give me that.
on a singer. Give me that was in Return of the
That
Jedi.
was Return of the
Yeah.
Jedi,
Don't give me a better battle between Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker.
fan base did it better.
Actually,
Yeah.
honestly, I love this lightsaber duel battle in Cloud City. It
Empire.
was
Better.
dark. It was like tense, yo. I mean, it was like fucking.
But you have
It was
to
a boy
remember,
messing
too-
with his father,
but
like
you have
just
to remember,
joking. Like I felt like he wasn't even trying.
But yeah,
hard.
you got to remember.
But you got to remember that Darth doesn't want to kill him, right? That this isn't a lightsaber
he
battle
was
to
fucking
hurt.
playing with him.
And
man.
I will withdraw my complaint about Revenge or Return of the Jedi because I think that final battle with the music is probably one of my
Well,
most.
when you have Luke just taking over and just unleashing the hatred, right?
Yeah.
And you got that balance. I think we have
Different
to see,
movie, different movie.
right? But going back here, like I do think we have to remember that Darth Vader does not want to kill him, right? There's absolutely not.
No, he's taunting him.
He's taunting him.
Yeah.
You know, that if you're going to say that there's a problem, to me that there are, and this is me literally going through with a microscope and going, I need to find something negative. There are three things, and weigh in if you want. One,
I will.
The fall from way up wherever Luke is all the way down to the little chute, and then he lands on the little like upside down antenna. Would have killed him.
Why?
Two, when he jumps out of the carbonite and he just is like, "Phew, there's a little frog."
No, you
He
gotta
flies.
You
No,
gotta chill.
I'm gonna go ahead and-
I'm not fighting.
He's been
There's
practicing the
bullet.
Force with Yoda.
That's
Yeah.
the Force. He learned how to do the Force.
I'm gonna agree with you on point one. On point two, I think three of us can disagree with you. Move on. Point three.
Okay.
You're wrong. No.
And point three is a story thing. Point three is a story thing. And it's to me, and I think that you definitely will argue against this. To me, I wish I had seen more. Okay, so when Leia comes out and gives the whole "I love you," and we get the
I know.
I know.
it seemed a little out of the blue if you're really looking for it. Right? Do you guys feel like
Nope.
you know? Okay.
You had first of all you had the opening sequence in Hoth.
She's in love with him,
where
but at the same time when
they're fighting. Then you have when they go and they defeat the Minox and they get into that belly of that creature, and you have this scene where C-3PO interrupts, and that's like the
she turns him off.
no when Leia
the kiss.
the kiss, and then you have C-3PO kind of butting in. Then you have him making a decision that she doesn't agree with, and that drives them apart. And in the last moment when Han is about to get put in kryptonite, it's a reconnection from that original kiss. So I don't agree with you that the story...
It's from rivalry to like actually falling in
like
love.
I said, guys, this was me really trying hard not to give this a 0. There's a...
That's probably one of the best ad-lib lines, by the way.
Oh, it is, absolutely. And I love it so much. Like I said, that was me going out on a limb.
Did you like it? Was it necessary in this movie?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Just making sure.
Oh, yeah.
Like you wanted the love story.
Oh, I want the
Star
love
Wars.
story. It has to happen.
Okay.
The only thing that I'm really bothered about with everything after Phantom Menace
Leia kissing
is...
Luke?
No, that's weird,
Okay.
though.
At the time, they weren't brothers and sisters.
And Luke was just like
saying.
this.
Oh, I love that. He's just
No, that's
It wasn't happening.
That's not a win, Luke. That's not a win.
Let's see.
when we get to 7 and we find out that Han and Leia had gone their separate ways, I wanted them to have a happy life together.
That was a mistake.
That was a mistake.
Wait, say that again?
When Han and Leia broke up,
They
in,
broke up
in
in the
Force
past.
Awakens,
We
but
find
the
out that-
and once
the
again,
reconnection, yeah.
Let me just tell you, I think Star Wars, and I'm going to say something sacrilege because the movies are fantastic. I think Star Wars performs best on an episodic television show type story. Format because it is a Saturday morning serial. That's what it was billed.
It's a
as.
cross between a Western and a Kung Fu movie and a Space Odyssey.
But what I'm saying is it climaxes and it goes to a cliffhanger. Every single story. So that's what a television show does. That's why The Mandalorian is so successful. That's why Clone Wars is so successful. Because you're able to fill in the backstory and fill in the emotion of all these characters as they go, and you're not limited to 2.5 hours.
You get more characters. You get more of a show. You get more of a back.
It's broader.
It's broader.
Yeah.
It's a universe, not just about one family.
Yeah.
Question: your favorite Star Wars character,
In Empire Strikes Back,
just in general?
Boba Fett. I'm sorry. It just has to be.
Gotcha.
And then Han Solo.
you go.
I'll go with it.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Darth Vader.
nice.
I feel like he actually brought balance to the Force
I mean, if
in a
I'm
weird
going
way.
with actual characters, I'd go Han Solo. I love Han as a character. I love Harrison Ford's interpretation of the character. But I mean, ultimately, I think we all have grown up loving Boba Fett. We want to be Boba Fett, and then now that we got a freaking TV show that's
What do
going to
you
be
guys-
Boba Fett.
What do you guys think about? So Vader's Anakin main thing was to bring balance to the Force, right? And I feel like, personally, the Jedi had too much of a strong hold. There's too many Jedi, and I feel like Vader, in its weird way, Anakin and Vader, he had to destroy everyone in order to bring balance to the Force.
Because that doesn't bring
He
balance.
fulfilled-
That takes
he
the
did
other
fulfill
way.
the prophecy. He did
Yeah.
bring balance to
Oh,
the
yeah.
Force.
He had to clean. It's almost like a clean slate,
Yes.
right?
And if
Well, it's
you
like the butterfly effect. Something has to happen in order to have the ripple effects.
And that brings to my favorite character, either Obi-Wan Kenobi or you probably don't really know this person too much, but Ahsoka Tano. Ahsoka Tano,
Another TV show coming your way,
oh my
guys.
gosh,
The
it's
Mandalorian.
so good.
dude, Ahsoka Tano
story is
fits
so fucking
exactly
Yeah, I gotta watch it.
what you're talking about.
And
I
I
will
think
watch it.
my love of Obi-Wan Kenobi comes from the whole, not from one movie.
Yeah.
I think Alec Guinness was magnificent. In this movie, he was magnificent. In all of them, he was magnificent. But the way that Ewan McGregor built up the character, and then the way that in Clone Wars he develops and he falls in love, and he violates the principles of being a Jedi, but chooses to overcome it. It's a completely
Spoil
different
it for me because
character.
I am going to watch it this summer.
It's
So
not
is
spoiling
Obi
anything.
Wan Kenobi the best Jedi?
No, that's why I like him. He knows he's not the best Jedi. He knows he's kind
But I
of.
feel like him thinking that makes him the best Jedi.
And that's why Ahsoka Tano is so good because she walks away from the Jedi. She's like, I can't follow what you guys are following.
Because I
And
think the
it's so
Jedi
fucking good.
became something bad almost.
And
at the same time.
I think at some point the reason why Obi-Wan went into hiding is because he was ashamed of how long he stuck
he's
with.
protecting Luke.
No.
I think he's
You
protecting
got to
Luke.
watch Clone Wars.
Well,
Joe.
I can't say anything because I haven't watched it yet, but I will.
I do. I think he was ashamed. I think he was ashamed of what the Jedi did.
But in Star Wars Rebels, he was also protecting Luke, and there was a great fucking episode.
Oh,
of that.
great episode.
We can wait because I will watch it. Ed, you're gonna watch it. We're gonna watch it. We'll
Yes,
talk
I
about
haven't
it.
watched
Let's
it.
talk about
When
Vader,
we
man,
do
because
it-
Vader was a fucking
So
hardcore
Vader,
motherfucker in this one.
I didn't remember until I watched it again.
So many people, his own
2 days
people.
ago. This is
killing
like
off his
literally. I
troop.
wrote this down. Like Vader, he's actually like evil. He embraces evil here because he just kills people at whim, like just left and right.
I have a question.
But here's the other thing, right? Everybody makes a big deal about Episode 4. He's only on screen for I think what, like 13 minutes or something of the
Most
entire movie.
impactful 13 minutes in Star Wars
Right.
history.
He and Hannibal Lecter are like the best bad guys on screen the least amount of time in their movies or whatever.
On A New Hope?
Yeah,
No,
in A New
Empire.
Hope.
Oh, in
In
New
A New
Hope?
Hope, yeah. He's on. It's like 11 or 12 or 13 minutes. But anyway, we don't see how bad of a guy he is. Right? He kills one guy. Or actually, no, he doesn't. He strangles one guy and he lets him go. Like this one, I didn't remember Vader killing so many people. And like you keep
agree.
saying, it's
Yeah.
his own people. And like we see that he's a bad guy. And in a lot of ways, I looked at it and I said, "Ooh, that kind of almost." Well, it can do one of two things. It detracts from what happens in Return when he comes full circle because you're like, "Ooh, I don't know if he has it in him." Or you can say, "Wow, he came full circle and fixed it."
Think about this too. So he, at the end of one, he probably did not know Luke was in New Hope. He did not know Luke was his son.
Right.
As soon as Luke blew up the Death Star,
He had this connection. It's like, ooh.
he knew Luke was his son.
Right.
Because he felt the Force. And from that moment until he met Luke, he was literally doing everything in his power
just
to
to
get
get Luke.
his son back. So while it is evil, and I'm not going to defend anything he did, his driver changed dramatically.
It's a
he
good
was
point.
he was a military general following orders to. I
He's
wanna
got a
find my
vendetta
fucking
almost
son.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, he was almost even to the matter of we can take over the Emperor.
Do you
and
think
you and
that-
I to rule.
Do you think that
the
he actually
galaxy
meant that,
together.
or was that just
He
a
know-
buy?
No, he fucking meant that.
I feel like
it.
he meant it.
Okay.
and that's I don't want to say it's the good side of him, but it's like he wanted to.
He's still
he
adhering
knew
to the bad
Emperor.
side.
Like
He saw the hypocrisy.
he
of the
saw it.
Emperor.
Like he wanted his. He felt like he could be a better emperor than the emperor.
Right.
And he always
I like that
wanted
point.
power, not like if you. And I'm going back to the prequel trilogy. He wanted power to protect, not to destroy. But he would destroy in order to gain that power to protect, which is why he was such a flawed character.
Yeah.
I will say this though, with Darth Vader, the fact that he could kill someone over a movie screen really made me question his
Pretty
power.
intense.
He literally killed a guy over
Wow,
the
that means that just goes to show you how fucking powerful that,
over
that guy
just
is.
a teleprompter. He's just like.
like yeah, he was like, "Oh, by the way, I'm watching you on a Zoom call.
he's
You're
like,
dead."
He's like, oh, by the way.
Remember that next time you're on a Zoom call,
He's
people.
like, by the way, you're in charge now, not you.
Yes, you're in charge now.
I'm pretty sure
Admiral.
that guy was like, I really don't want to be your fucking lieutenant, yo.
So, but then at the end of the movie, you kind of got this other connection. So this kind of goes to your point too. You know, he had a connection with Luke at the end of the movie.
yeah.
He could have killed Luke
Oh, yeah.
because he had that connection. I don't think Luke understood that. He could have killed Luke right
That's a really
then
good
and there.
point. So
Anyway.
I think we need to talk about a couple things.
Okay.
Two things. One, I'm just going to throw out there. Two, I think we need to talk about. One, I fell in love when I was a kid with C-3PO in this movie because he became the comic relief that I think we so desperately needed him to be.
The survival rate is
In-
735 to
Right, we
1.
have these running jokes. We've got the light,
I don't
the
remember
light
that until I
speed.
saw this. I was like, oh, I
Right,
never
we have the
really
light
said that.
speed not ever working. We have C-3PO's odds
They love
always
it.
going down. We have
Yes.
the I got
Never tell me
about
the
this.
odds.
Never tell me
Right.
that.
So we have all these things happening, and it's to me it really is one of the reasons why Empire is to me my favorite. Is that it's fun, it's dark as hell, but it's got a lot more humor than any of the other ones in there. But so that's just one. Two, and we can talk about that too. Two, we need to talk about Lando. We need to talk about Cloud City. We need to talk about Bespin. We need to talk about.
Let's talk about Lando right
Let's
now.
talk about Lando. I want to talk about Lando.
So, Eddie, as a character, Lando Calrissian, did you trust him at the beginning or did you not trust him?
You
I
got to go
did.
back to when you first watched it.
I did actually trust him. Like I was thinking like in the very beginning. I mean, for me, he played it off. Like I thought, like oh, okay, like obviously after watching this 1,000 times, I know what happens. Like oh, okay, I see. But overall, he had cards dealt against him before Han even got there. his life was already at stake.
That dude was a shyster.
No, I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you, Brandon. I agree with Eddie.
He was trying, and he already in his mind.
He was in a horrible position.
He was
trying to already
changed.
but he was already trying to save Han and Leia and Chewbacca before. As soon as he's like, okay, hey, you told me this wasn't the deal. Vader even said, I'm altering the deal.
Pray I don't alter it any further.
But he would not have done anything if that didn't happen. Like he was dealt a horrible blow, a horrible set of cards, whatever you want to call it.
And what do you expect for Lando to do? The last time you saw Han Solo, he took a ship.
Okay, so
well, we don't know.
We don't know. I think they've seen each other since then. But no, so, to me, I love Lando. Lando's literally one of my favorite characters.
Billy D. Williams.
Yeah, Billy D. Williams. I love.
Did you do anything
I
else
think
in
I'm one
life?
of the only
Is this
four
the
of us
movie
here.
did?
No,
Yeah, he was Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. No, he's Harvey Dent.
No, he was
I feel
Harvey
like
Dent. Yeah.
we. I think I'm one of the very few of us here who love Solo. I thought Solo was a great movie. I think it was. I
No,
we
I
all
like
love
Solo.
that.
No. I just think the reason
I
it
love
fails
Childish
is 'cause it started in
Gambino,
phase.
right? I love Childish. He played Lando great.
Yes,
Hashtag
Childish Gambino, aka Donald Glover.
Oh yes, that guy.
Yes.
Anyway, no. So but here's what I'm saying is when you said when I first saw it, did I trust Lando? I didn't. When I first saw it, I thought he was going to turn on him. He did, right? And I'm going back to like when I'm a kid, understanding like when I watched the first probably 12 times, I had no idea what was going on. I was like, "Ooh, this is fun."
Lights!
Oh
lasers.
my gosh, they're
Why
flying!
do you think he was
Because he was so over the top nice.
I thought hey, stop flirting with Han Solo's girl. That's
Over
why
I
the
thought he
top.
was the coolest fucking character. Like, wow,
he
like,
wears
man,
a
he's
cape,
got
right?
style, yo.
Lando was Neville Chamberlain. He was Neville Chamberlain before Winston Churchill took over in World War II. He appeased Hitler. Neville Chamberlain is notorious for essentially letting Hitler become who Hitler is because he was trying to protect his people. But Lando, in my opinion, was trying to protect an entire conglomerate of the economy, the people who lived on Bespin. He had basically grown to run this entire outpost.
he's like governor.
He sold his soul for an exchange.
Right, and the deal,
and he protects his people. Like,
and he was
I'll
also
give it to
protecting
yeah.
Han and Leia and
he's
Chewie,
protecting all of Bespin,
because
which we
he
saw is a
knew-
populated place.
Because Vader told him that all he wanted was Luke. He didn't care about anyone else.
Exactly.
And then he changed the deal, and that's
Right.
when he realized.
I can't.
And that's, I think, when it goes back to my point earlier, is I think this was the pivotal moment in Star Wars history when people realized that they can't trust the Empire. The Empire is
They're gonna
no
want-
longer trying to protect people, but instead will control you.
Yeah.
I love that backstabbing scene where Han Solo finally sees Darth Vader, and that fool doesn't even fucking he just picks out his blaster and he shoots him. He's not even fucking afraid of him, and that really shows the courage of fucking Han Solo right there. I love that fucking scene.
What did Vader say? We would be honored.
No, he
if
just
you
took
would
the
join
gun
us.
with his force.
Yeah,
you know?
he's like, we'd be honored if you joined us. Sit down, please.
But he was so fucking he didn't even think twice. He's like, I'm gonna pull my gun out. I'm not afraid of this fool.
Right.
That shows how much a fucking strong person Han Solo is.
I'm just saying. Hashtag.
Gotcha.
So you have a Han Solo betrayed by Lando Calrissian. I think Lando Calrissian has a really cool storyline in this one,
Full circle.
but then he comes full circle, especially in the last.
Return.
Yeah.
So
but also in Rise of Skywalker, you kind of have this meandering.
Oh, yeah, I'm talking about the original.
He ends up helping Luke. No, I'm saying he's got a nice meandering storyline that I think. Let's also talk about the fact that Billy D. Williams was like a sex symbol at the time this movie was coming out. Did you know
obviously,
Colt 45.
I would look
that?
at
Just
him.
a gorgeous man.
He was.
Dude, that fool had
I saw his pecs
the
underneath that
bomb
shirt.
hair of all hair, dude. That guy was the shit.
And a smile.
But-
and the fact that he can box.
He can box?
Yeah.
Did I miss this?
the freeze thing, right? The carbon.
Carbon.
Landon's like, that's not meant for people.
Yeah.
Vader's like, we'll test it on Han Solo. And he's like, oh, sorry, buddy. I'm really, really sorry, bro.
It started to spiral. Like, I think that it would have been nice, once again, if you had a TV show, because I would have liked to see the spiral of Lando Calrissian as he made the deal, as he, you could see the behind the scenes of how this shit was falling
Yeah,
apart.
you could definitely see it for on season 1. He's kind of portrayed as the bad person, but season 2 he finds his arc.
Right. I think that. What was the other thing you wanted to talk about, Brandon?
Well, we should talk about the greatest ultimate twist of all twists for Indians.
Oh yeah.
I guess we got to kind of talk about
We
that.
should talk about that.
So-
Well, they told it. I mean, Vader's is.
Talk about
his
Boba Fett
father
with
and-
his Slave 1 ship.
Yeah.
Vader is.
I mean, his starship? What?
By the way, let's talk about accents. Did anybody else think and notice and realize, with the exception of a couple characters, Obi-Wan, C-3PO, everybody who's got a British accent is a bad guy? Think about it.
Did you see Julian Glover in there?
Yeah,
too?
did you see him on the ATT Walker?
I'm
Fucking
just
the
saying.
villain for
I'm just
Last
saying, Indiana
Crusade?
Jones.
And James Bond.
Well,
that
we don't really
is
care
right.
about that. We
We
care
always
about
come full circle with James Bond.
I know
We
we
do.
always do. I think it was
Someday we'll
It was
do
a
that
Roger
movie.
Moore film. I want to say it was
Time to Kill.
No, For Your Eyes Only.
For Your Eyes Only. I was going to say For Your Eyes
Yeah,
Only.
you
So
weren't.
is there any hatred
And A
between?
Time to Kill is not a.
Is there any hatred between Boba Fett and Vader? When Vader's just like, "Oh, you're Boba Fett. I know you. I knew your dad."
Well, no, I don't.
Boba
I
Fett
actually
knew
don't
Jango
think he
Fett.
knows. No, but I don't think Anakin ever met
Attack
Jango
of the
Fett.
Clones.
He would have seen his clone.
He never met him actually in
He
Attack of
never had a-
Clones.
yeah.
Basically, it was Obi-Wan Kenobi that met him, Django.
And Mace Windu cut his head off.
Yeah.
Oh,
Spoiler.
But I'm pretty sure he's like, yo, I know that you're part of the Jedi that killed my father. And I will disintegrate you.
well, it's kind of funny in like the Mandalorian. It's like minutes between Boba Fett and Luke Skywalker are also like seeing each other.
That's
So,
true.
Bubba Fett, the House of Fett, takes place after Return of the Jedi, correct?
I hope so, because I'd love to see how he gets out of the pit, yo.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's right. okay.
That's
I would
after.
love that.
Yeah, we got to figure out how he gets out of the pit, and then I'm really looking forward to Fennec Shan. That whole storyline just looks really cool to me.
We will probably. I'm going to put it on air, so we have to do it. We will
He's
probably
one of
do
the-
a special episode.
He's one of the coolest
On
characters
the
and
house.
also one of
I
the
will love to
shittiest
do
ways
that,
to die.
actually. Christmas
Well,
time,
he didn't die.
hopefully.
Yeah.
So it's
But
okay.
at the
It'll be fun.
time,
When does House of Fett come out?
We're on the campfire closely
December.
around December or something like that.
at the time, Return of the Jedi, he died, and it was the
don't think it's this
worst
year?
way to die.
It's December.
Everyone knew he died. Originally, he died. It was a.
In a
We
pit
don't
of
know
the
that.
Sarlacc?
We don't know that.
Everyone like you don't see him again for a while, so you assume
Slowly
that, like,
digested over 1,000 years.
Yeah, except for people who don't live 1,000 years. That's the stupidest fucking
I'm just
line
trying
in
to say,
Star Wars.
Why would they show that?
It's like Return of the Jedi was the redheaded stepchild, like all bad ideas that Lucas had.
We keep saying the house. It's the book of Boba Fett.
I'm
guys.
sorry, the Book of Fett.
The House of...
Oh, we almost had a casualty of a computer.
So I think the biggest aspect of this film that really shocked audiences was the big reveal at the end of the film, which we kind of touched on already, but I kind of want to go through it because one of the big questions I had, I remember watching it, was, okay, is it true or is he just saying that? Like, how could he possibly be his father? And I went back to the whole timeline thing, trying to figure out, well, how the fuck old is Vader? Do we really ever know? I mean, we know Luke was a farm boy. We know he's probably 17, 18, 19 in episode, New Hope, episode 4, episode 5. 3 years later, let's say, how much
I don't know if it's
longer?
been 3 years. I
I'd
don't know
say
if it's.
that
I
he
don't-
was in his 40s. You know.
Vader.
No, Vader was in his 40s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You'd have
Vader's
to
in
be.
the 40s and Luke's in his 20s.
So
Yeah.
that's the math I was doing. I was like,
You were
don't
doing the
know.
math
I
when
don't
you were
know
watching
if
that
it's
scene?
true. Well, I mean, I'm not good at math, so don't ask
Yeah,
that.
Do you know what the original scene was supposed to be?
What?
That the line was supposed to be, Obi-Wan killed your father?
Ooh.
Have you ever heard this Mark
They
Hamill?
changed it,
No.
yeah.
Have you ever heard this Mark Hamill story? That in the very last minute, Irving goes into his dresser, or what do you call it?
This trailer.
His trailer. Dresser. His trailer.
His dressing room.
Yeah, his dressing room. And he tells him one, like, it's your father. And he tells him, there's only 30 people that know this. I know this. Lucas knows this. And now you know this. If it gets word out, we will both know that you let it out. So he was doing this interview with Grant Norton, and he was explaining, like, as we were watching the premiere, and when it reveals, like, hey, I'm your father, Harrison Ford goes up to him and goes, hey, kid, you never fucking told me about that.
I think I have seen
that?
it.
Yeah.
He does a good
He
Harrison
does a good
Ford.
Harrison Ford. I can't do it, but that was like one of the funniest things.
So
but
I think Mark Hamill is, and forgive me, Mark, because you're a wonderful, wonderful,
Mark's a
wonderful
god, so shut-
part of our.
Don't talk bad about him.
Shut it.
I don't
Don't
think
talk-
he's the greatest actor,
Oh,
but
what?
as a voice actor, I think he is probably one of the best. So take 6 1
I
half.
thought- leave you
he
behind
sold
on
me
that
when
one.
he was upset and saying no, no, no.
Yeah.
No.
So many people get that quote wrong as well.
It is the
Luke,
most
I'm your father.
misquoted.
It's
Luke,
really
I'm,
good.
Yes.
Luke, I'm your
Yeah.
father. They
Yeah,
always say,
no,
Luke,
I'm-
I'm your father. And say, no.
I'm your father. I'm your papa.
Obi-Wan never told you how your father
never
died.
told you who your. Yeah.
So I just think that's like, I mean, you think that's the best quote of all time?
No.
Do you or
I
do you not?
mean- Do you
There
think
is
that's
no
the-
try.
I would
Do you
say
think
it's
that's
probably one of the most famous. Yeah, I would say it might be the most
No,
famous.
clearly it's I hate sand.
Is that the?
Coarse and rough, and
No.
it gets out.
It's I love you. It's I love you.
Yeah, I love you. I know.
love you,
That's
I
the
know.
best line right there, yo.
I don't know. My
I have a
favorite-
bad feeling about this. I mean, come on. There's a bunch of iconic. Yeah. So I think we're prolonging the inevitable at this point.
I think
so
we
why
have
don't
to see how many zeros we got.
Why don't we wrap this up?
It's
and-
do or do not. There is no try.
That brings us to the end of review. Now it's time for the podcast where each of the hosts provides his score on the following scale. Brother, can you provide our following scale, please?
Yes, it's 0, the perfect movie. You don't need shit to enjoy it. 1, a feel-good first cocktail. 2, you're a happy buzz. 3, you're gonna Uber or Lyft home. 4, a rough morning walk of shame. And 5, blackout spring break, shit face, spring break drunk. Ooh, I switched it up.
Yeah, you did.
Damn, summer break,
Well,
spring break,
yeah, well,
fall break.
Panama City.
Somebody's enjoying the Bespin drink.
The best.
The Bespin drink.
Yes. Gentlemen, let's start
Don't,
with
don't do it with me.
has E first.
Cheer. Oh, Ed. Ed. Wait, hold on. Wait. I got it. Ed, start us off.
I don't think I should start.
I
this
will
off.
start us off.
Will you?
Yeah.
Okay.
By saying Jeremy's going to go first.
No, Jeremy shouldn't go first.
No,
I'll start us
I'll
off.
go for you.
I'll
You
start
go.
us.
Okay, I got mine already written down.
No,
So it's okay.
I don't have anything written down. I'm going
No.
Geronimo.
no, I meant
here.
my score.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I don't ever write things down.
So I think if we're looking at this movie from a scoring standpoint, there's a couple of aspects that I want to focus on. Number one is the impact of this movie. I think that this movie is the pivotal Star Wars movie in the whole saga. I think that this film has pacing. Music is gorgeous, even though he ripped off his own theme between Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones. That's the same. It's basically the same theme. Anyway, the music is brilliant. The direction is
Which
fantastic.
came first before
Empire.
Empire came before Raiders of the Lost Ark.
It did?
Yes.
Oh, that makes me feel better. So,
Good.
okay. So this was first. Okay.
This is 80. Yeah.
All right. I retract that. So we've got pacing, we've got score, we've got acting, which I would always give Star Wars a 6 out of 10. Writing in this one was far superior. Blew
So
away
good.
New Hope so much better than New Hope. Action was fantastic. Intrigue was fantastic. The criticisms I have of this movie are so small. It's really hard not. I'm a horror zero horror. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I've given zeros before. I'm okay with it.
And
Sound
you
of
get a
Music
zero,
was a
and
zero.
you get
I'm
a
like
zero.
Oprah when it comes to a zero. You get a zero. Anyway, this movie to me is a zero. It is everything you want in a fucking movie.
guy.
It is a wonderful addition to Star Wars. It expands the universe in a way no other film does. It has single-handedly led to the ability to do all of these sequels, all of these television shows, all of the success. New Hope on its own would not have done it. You needed this second punch. Where I don't believe that in Godfather Part 2. I don't believe that in Alien Part 2. Aliens. I believe that this franchise succeeded because of this movie.
I agree.
And
I
for
agree
that,
with
it gets-
you, yeah.
And
Yeah,
for
I
that,
mean-
it gets a zero.
Okay, so
Brandon.
because I started watching this movie, I continued watching this movie. I finished watching this movie, going that we're gonna have 4 zeros because this is my favorite Star Wars thing in the history of Star Wars. This is a movie, like I said, I've seen this movie more than any movie ever made. I grew up watching this movie. I grew up believing in this movie. I grew up wanting to be Boba Fett or Darth Vader or just a stormtrooper who can't hit anything. I could watch this movie anytime, any day, any night, and just sit down and enjoy the hell out of it. That being said, if I'm looking at this on the most critical level ever, which is what I have to do, I'm going to say that, yeah, there are a couple acting performances that slip and you go, ooh, took me out of the story just a little bit. Luke jumping out of the carbonite, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Luke should have died when he fell, 75,000 stories and landed on an antenna. And for that, I'm going to be super critical of one of, if not my favorite movie of all time. I just told you. I literally just listed it off.
Don't ruin this for us here.
A Star Wars. A New
Are we
Hope.
doing it?
So
Are we doing it?
A Star Wars New Hope.
Are we doing it? I mean, this is like literally.
A Star Wars New Hope.
Here it is. I have my score that I just came up with now to try to make it.
I don't know
Not
why you're
4
trying
zeros.
to do anything.
I wrote down a .031.
Just give it a fucking 0.
It's a 0. It's a 0. Damn it! This is one of the greatest movies ever made. You are happier and a better person if you watch it.
Jeremiah.
So what are you?
I'm a 0. God, I have to.
I don't want to be that. No, I'm that.
Hey, you can't give this thing. This is the greatest thing.
All right, Eddie.
Eddie. I'm not last. I'm not last.
Okay.
Oh, I'm last.
Yes, you are.
You're gonna ruin it.
Fuck.
Yeah. I'm not last. There is no try. God, this movie was it was somehow brought. It was so intriguing to see that Vader had his own boss. You never saw Darth, at the time Sidious or the Emperor in Star Wars: New Hope, right? So it's just like the scene that Vader has this much power over the audience, and there's so much different Vader, and this is the first time you see Yoda. So it's like you understand that there is a fight between the good and the bad, and it's unseen. And it's just like this movie brought to light of many different aspects. I don't believe in the perfect movie. I've never given a 0. I don't think I've ever given it a 0. I'm so sorry that I might have to ruin this, but there is parts of it like I don't. It might have went. Maybe you guys liked it, but it dragged on a little bit in certain areas. Oh. I'm so sorry for saying that, George Lucas and everyone. For me, there was this slow parts, and I wish that maybe it had more Emperor in it, and I wish also. Oh my God, this is so hard. Oh, it's so hard.
Just do it.
It's okay, Eddie. No, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, I didn't like. I mean, everything with Yoda was saying was amazing, but does it hold? Watching this today, seeing a little Muppet up there, it was ahead of its time. But I'm so sorry.
I might actually cry.
Oh my God.
See, I'm super happy, by the way, that they went back to the Muppet, even though Last Jedi was a train wreck and a piece of shit.
I'm so glad it wasn't CGI for Christ's sake.
I'm so happy.
This movie was ahead of its time, and it holds down. It's probably the best movie we've ever done.
Eddie,
it's
better
0
than.
Just give.
It's better than Godfather, but I feel sad that this movie is not on the top AFI. It should have been on there more than Godfather 2. So I don't understand why that's not on there. Those people have it all wrong. This movie just brought life to a whole nother universe, and it stands to my time. I give it a 0.25.
All right. We had a chance for a perfect movie, and you.
There is no perfect movie, bro.
There is. It's called Empire Strikes Back.
You're fine, Ed. I think that it's a very honest and good score.
Chair.
Empire has become one of those rare films considered by many a sequel that's a better movie than the original. I mean, this film changed everything and why it is a science fiction masterpiece. It remains part of our history with pulp culture. I mean, with the best twist ending of all twist endings, the characters are more developed, the action are amazing, set pieces are amazing, classic effects, hands down, probably one of the best soundtracks in the saga in my books.
Which we didn't even talk about.
We didn't even talk about that.
It's like one of the best things ever, yo. I mean,
God,
there's a reason why this
Should I change
movie...
my score? I feel like I traded this.
There's a reason why this movie poster still hangs in our house now, today, because it's the movie that I feel is one of the greatest that changed films as we know it. This is a fucking 0 for me, man.
Oh, yes.
Way to be, Ed.
Yeah.
No, I think this is where it should be.
So I'm saying we don't even put this as number 1. We just put it at 0 because it's in a class of its own.
No, Eddie, if you take all those scores, a 0 from me, a 0 from Brandon, a 0 from Jeremiah, and a 0.25 from you, and you add them together and divide by 4, what is Empire Strikes Back achieve on our scale?
Oh, it's at the very top. It's a number 1. It's a number 1. It's impossible to touch. It's an impossible store to get.
I don't know. Wait till we do Raiders.
It is 0.0625.
A 0.0625, and that puts it where on our list?
1.
The number 1
It took
film
over Field of Dreams, Jurassic
of
Park,
our
and Godfather.
podcast.
Okay.
It took over. It did demolish them, actually.
Yeah, it actually demolished everything.
Yeah.
And honestly, this is where it belongs. I understand that you're agonizing over the 0, but it's not a perfect movie. I mean, it's not. I gave it a 0, and I will stand by my 0 till the end of time. But I think that it's one of the greatest movies ever made. There's no question about that, and it deserves to be at the top of our list. So I'm super happy.
I'm
with
happy.
where it is.
Yeah, then I am happy with it.
Brandon?
He's like that one guy that loves all the movies, but there's that one guy who goes, yeah, it's all right.
Listen, it was killing me, this idea that I was going to have to rate it something other than a 0.
I did that for you.
Thanks for being the
You're welcome.
sacrificial lamb, because
Yes.
it's a 0. Absolutely.
It's a 0.25.
No, there will be
It's
a
a
0
point-
movie.
It's a 0.
I don't know.
0.062.
Eddie has this thing where it's like, there's no such thing as a perfect movie. Well,
Fucking last crusade, Jesus.
We'll get to Indiana Jones eventually, guys.
Anyway.
So listen, next week.
Next week
Or I guess in 2 weeks,
we're
next
getting
podcast.
the next podcast is we're going to the 90s.
we're going to the 90s, yo. The
we
best decade other than the 80s. I'm just saying.
No. So what movie we're starting with the 90s?
I think that's my pick.
It is,
Is
Sean.
it my pick?
It
I
is.
think, I think we're going
Get to
to
the 90s,
We're
yo.
going to Florida.
We are.
And we're going to go to a little bit of
Palm
Beach?
Fosse. Marsha. Madonna. We're going to go ahead and we're going to visit our little cabaret at the Birdcage.
Yeah.
Ooh, the
Sounds good.
Birdcage.
Robin Williams, 1996.
6.
Yeah.
So
Start in the middle.
If you want to, you can reach out to us via email at hosts@thegentlemanpodcast.com. And we invite you to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or wherever you're listening. And make sure you leave us those physical reviews. And once again, we're going to plead for you to tell one person about our podcast so that we can grow. We've had some incredible growth this season. We're super excited about the way that things are progressing, but we need more listeners. So please, tell your friends, tell your grandparents, tell your mother and father that we're doing.
Tell the
greatest movie of
rebels,
all
tell
time.
the Empire,
Yes.
tell those
The
rebel
resistance.
scums.
Yeah.
And we will cheers, gentlemen, and see you in 2 weeks with the Birdcage.
Sounds good. All right, guys. Well, that could have been the best one that we did.
I think it is the best one we ever
Well,
did.
technically, it is the best.
It is the
movie
best
that
one.
we
Yeah,
did.
so
Well, that was fun, guys.
it's way better than The Ring.
Did we talk about Point Break?